often said that love operates without rules, defies all logic and recognises no boundaries. But when you encounter the couples we're about to see, your first reaction is probably, how did that happen? We're talking about everything from a groom who was only 9 years old to a man who literally tied the knot with a hologram. There are tales of beauty queens snagging billionaires and love stories that completely disregard conventions of body type, age gaps, or even physical reality itself. These are the partnerships that manage to shock us, sometimes inspire us, and ultimately prove a single undeniable truth. Love is by far the most bizarre and unpredictable story ever written. First up, Bera Ivanishvili and Nanuka Gudavadze. In the nation of Georgia, a romance is never simply a romance. These relationships are deeply woven into the fabric of history, politics, and immense power. And absolutely no couple exemplifies this intricate connection better than Bera Ivanishvili and Nanuka Gudavadze. They're a duo whose wedding seemed straight out of a lavish music video, yet their union represents something profoundly more significant. You see, Bera is hardly your average pop sensation. Born with albinism, he has been a striking and unmistakable figure in any crowd since childhood. This wasn't just because of his unique appearance, but also due to the immense influence carried by his family name. His father, Bizina Ivanishvili, isn't just one of the nation's most affluent individuals. He was also the country's former prime minister and the powerful head of the ruling party Georgian Dream. From his earliest days, Bera's entire existence has been relentlessly scrutinised by the public. On the other side of this story is Nanuka, the daughter of a trusted family friend. Incredibly beautiful, graceful and sophisticated, she was a woman who could have easily chosen from an endless line of hopeful suitors. However, it was Bera's compelling voice, his unyielding determination and his almost ethereal presence that ultimately captivated her. They kept their relationship private for several months until September of 2011. When they made their public debut with a stunning Orthodox wedding ceremony in the historic town of Mismatched, it was a grand celebration that could have easily rivaled any royal affair. In a widely praised gesture, the couple requested that their guests forego gifts and instead make donations to local foster care homes, a decision that won them widespread admiration throughout Georgia. And when their first child, a son, was born in 2019, it felt as though the entire nation was celebrating alongside them. On the internet, their spectacular wedding video went viral almost instantly, with countless viewers commenting that it seemed less like a real event and more like a scene from an epic fantasy movie. To anyone on the outside, looking in their romance probably appears completely effortless and perfect. A perfect package of stunning beauty and incredible privilege. But beneath that polished surface, Bera has spent his entire life battling the stigma associated with his condition. Meanwhile, Nanuka has been forced to learn how to navigate the complexities of being married into one of the most intensely watched and judged families in all of Georgia. Their partnership is more than just a romance. It's a testament to resilience against overwhelming public expectations. So are they truly the nation's ultimate golden couple? Or perhaps they serve as a powerful reminder that even under the brightest spotlights, love can be simultaneously brilliant and profoundly complicated. Regardless of the answer, the story of Bera and Nanuka demonstrates that sometimes the most unconventional love stories are the ones that end up being the most inspiring. Next, we have Jaime and Nikki Perkins. Within the online universe where curated smiles and flawlessly edited vlogs sell an aspirational fantasy, Jaime and Nikki Perkins seem to be the couple that had everything figured out. He was a charismatic Australian filmmaker, and she was a stunning Sudanese-born model who possessed both incredible beauty and a quiet, powerful grace. As a team, they were more than just romantic partners. They transformed into one of the internet's most beloved and followed love stories. Their connection was instant, their romance a whirlwind, and in 2013 they exchanged vows in a beautiful ceremony that made their fans all over the world feel like they were part of the special day. Their online presence skyrocketed as they meticulously documented every chapter of their lives together: the proposal, the wedding vows, the pregnancies, and finally their journey into parenthood with their two wonderful daughters, Ava and Zoe. Their union as an interracial couple also garnered significant attention, with many holding them up as inspirational figures for a love that effortlessly transcended cultural and racial lines. For a full 6 years, they offered their devoted followers a curated glimpse into what seemed like a life of pure bliss. The shared laughter, the exotic travels, the family milestones, it was all broadcast to an audience of hundreds of thousands who became deeply invested in their narrative. But then abruptly in 2019, the new videos stopped. The happy smiles vanished from their social media, and devoted fans started to notice something was conspicuously absent. Nicki's wedding ring. When the official announcement finally came, it hit their community like a tidal wave. Through separate individual statements, both Jaime and Nicki confirmed that their marriage was over. The situation was so difficult they couldn't even manage to film a final joint video to explain what happened. The emotional pain, as they each explained, was simply too intense and raw to face the camera together. And just like that, the flawless facade shattered into a million pieces. It was a stark reminder to everyone watching that beneath the perfectly curated images lies the unfiltered truth of real life, and sometimes that truth is painful. Their sudden split sent shockwaves through their fan base, leaving followers completely split. Many were left genuinely devastated, mourning the end of a fairy tale. Others, however, felt a cynical sense of validation, viewing the breakup as an inevitable cautionary tale about the perils of transforming a real relationship into a brand. Yet through all the noise, one thing was undeniable. The connection between Jaime and Nicki had been authentic. The laughter their fans saw was genuine, and now their heartbreak was painfully real as well. Today, as they navigate their lives on separate paths, a question still hangs in the air. Will either of them find that kind of love again? It's possible. But for the millions of people who followed their journey, Jaime and Nicki will forever be remembered as the couple who taught a powerful lesson even the most beautiful fairy tales can break. And that vulnerability doesn't make the story any less true. Now let's turn to Kate Cathcart and Darren Donaghy. Certain couples seem to ignite a firestorm of gossip simply because onlookers cannot wrap their heads around the fact that they are together. In the case of Kate Cathcart and Darren Donaghy, the local chatter became so intense that an actual contest was launched with the sole purpose of proving one thing: that Darren was without a doubt punching far above his weight class. It all began when Kate relocated to Darren Street in Newcastle, England, and he simply could not stop gushing to everyone he knew about the stunning new girl who had just moved in down the block. Initially, he had absolutely no idea that this intriguing woman was actually his best friend's sister. But as destiny would have it, a formal introduction was just around the corner. The chemistry between them was undeniable, leading to a whirlwind of dates, and in what felt like no time at all, they became completely inseparable. However, in the eyes of the public, the stark contrast between Kate's stunning appearance and Darren's more conventional looks became a source of constant gawking and relentless gossip. Instead of shrinking from the attention, they decided to embrace it head on. They boldly entered a local contest designed for men dating women considered out of their league, and they won the grand prize, a fantastic getaway to Rhodes. Yet that victory was merely the first chapter in what would become an unbelievable story of good fortune. Then in 2018, on a whim, Darren purchased a scratch-off lottery ticket from a nearby convenience store. To his absolute astonishment, it revealed a $1 million prize. Almost instantly, the very man who had been the butt of local jokes transformed into the most envied person in town. He had it all: a beautiful wife by his side, a wonderful young son, and a financial future filled with limitless potential. But that is where the story takes an unexpected turn. If you ask Kate, she'll set the record straight. She insists she was never out of his league at all. In reality, years of cruel bullying had severely eroded her self-esteem. It was Darren's gentle kindness and his absolute unwavering conviction in her beauty that managed to mend the emotional scars that no amount of lottery money ever could. Now they remain a strong, devoted couple, effectively silencing all the doubters. While Darren may have cashed in a winning lottery ticket, he knows his true, priceless treasure has always been Kate. And perhaps when you really think about it, society had the whole situation completely reversed. Maybe it wasn't Darren who was dating up, perhaps it was Kate who was the truly fortunate one all along. Next we have Anton Kraft and China Bell. Some romances are quiet private affairs while others are declared for the entire world to see. And then there is the incredible saga of Anton Kraft and China Bell. They are a pair whose relationship fundamentally questions our preconceived notions of attraction power and personal identity. And Anton Kraft is certainly far from your average guy. At a height of just 4 feet and 4 inches, he has achieved a world record so staggering that most people couldn't even imagine it, bench pressing 500 pounds, a staggering 4 times his own body weight. For years and years, his incredible powerlifting achievements made jaws drop. But once he stepped outside the gym, he frequently struggled with feeling completely overlooked. He often wondered if anyone would ever look past his physical stature. And then China Bell entered his life. She was tall, absolutely stunning, and completely and utterly authentic. Standing at an impressive 6 feet 3 inches tall, this transgender woman from Florida had navigated her own profound journey of personal transformation. She had painstakingly built her confidence in a society that constantly pushed for people to be the same. When her path crossed with Anton's, the divide between them was far more than just a matter of height. It was a chasm of contrasting life experiences. But ironically, it was their very differences that ignited the initial spark between them. China openly confesses that she had her reservations at the beginning. She questioned whether she could truly be with a man who was so significantly shorter. She worried endlessly about whether society would ever be able to comprehend their relationship. However, Anton's captivating charm, his quick wit, and his rock-solid self-confidence systematically dismantled every single one of her doubts. In less than 6 months, the bond they shared had grown into something truly undeniable. He affectionately refers to her as his personal tower of strength. In turn, she lovingly calls him the man who lifts far more than just heavy weights, he lifts her very soul. When they're together, they present such a striking image that people on the street literally stop and stare. They're known as the tiny titan and the towering beauty. Naturally, their critics are quick to call them an oddity. On the other hand, their admirers find them incredibly inspiring. But to Anton and China themselves, none of those external labels matter in the slightest. The only thing that truly counts is the powerful love they have carefully constructed together. They remain completely unfazed by gossip and totally impervious to judgment, and now Anton is even talking about proposing. Just imagine the scene. The world's most powerful little man getting down on one knee for the incredible woman who showed him that real strength has nothing to do with physical muscle. Instead, it's found in the courage to be vulnerable. This isn't just an unconventional love story. This is a truly extraordinary one. Our next story is about Elisane da Cruz Silva and Francinaldo da Silva Carvalho. In a country like Brazil, where beauty standards often revolve around physique and dance, Elisane Silva captured attention for an entirely different attribute, her absolutely astonishing height. Before she had even reached the age of 10, she was already standing at a remarkable 5 feet and 9 inches tall. As a teenager, she quite literally loomed over all of her classmates. Reaching a height of 6 feet 8 inches, she eventually earned the title of Brazil's tallest woman. However, her personal story was filled with more heartache than victory. Elisane was diagnosed with gigantism, an extremely rare medical condition triggered by a tumour developing on her pituitary gland. This abnormal growth spurt led to incessant and cruel bullying from her peers, which absolutely shattered her self-confidence. She appeared on national television, sharing her personal struggles in the hopes of receiving financial assistance for medical expenses her family simply could not cover. For many years, she felt less like a young woman hoping for romance and more like a public curiosity. Then, a man named Francinaldo da Silva Carvalho entered her life. He stood just 5 feet 4 inches tall, coincidentally the very same height as Elisani's own mother. To anyone on the outside looking in, he appeared to be an almost comically unsuitable partner for the statuesque model. But Francinaldo was not like everyone else. He was the very first person who saw her not as an object of pity or morbid curiosity, but as a person deserving of genuine respect. That single difference altered the course of her life. By 2011, their love story had begun to flourish. Fast forward to 2015 and the couple was exchanging vows in an intimate and deeply emotional wedding ceremony. The staggering height difference of almost 2 feet between the newlyweds quickly became fodder for viral news stories across the globe. Yet for Elisani, what truly mattered was that Francinaldo's love was the first thing that ever made her feel completely and truly human. These days, the happy couple is busy raising their beloved son, Angelo, together. Even though people on the street still stare and point when they see them, the pair simply shares a laugh and moves on. They know that for them, love isn't something you can measure with a ruler. Instead, it is measured by kindness, unwavering loyalty, and the sheer bravery it takes to pursue something that the rest of the world deems impossible. Elisani once shared that her husband always saw the woman inside, never just the extraordinary height. And perhaps that is the ultimate secret to their happiness. In a culture completely consumed by superficial appearances, their story serves as a powerful reminder that the most profound aspect of love is its capacity to soar high above all forms of judgment. And finally, we look at the story of Tom and Stacey Crutchfield. In the humid, wild landscape of a reptile farm in Homestead, Florida, an incredible romance blossomed in the most unlikely of settings for Tom Crutchfield, a 72-year-old expert on all things reptilian. He had spent a lifetime wrangling everything from iguanas to massive snakes, never once dreaming that his scaly charges would lead him straight to his soulmate. However, destiny, it seems, has a mischievous side, and it showed up in the form of Stacey, a captivating woman, more than 3 decades his junior. Their unique love story officially began back in 2010 when Stacey's own pet iguana was in dire need of some professional medical attention. She discovered Tom on Facebook and sent him a message which ignited a connection that quickly deepened from a simple friendship into something truly profound. For Tom, the vast age difference was initially a significant hurdle. It was a sobering thought that Stacey's own father was merely 5 years his senior. But for Stacey, matters of the heart couldn't be calculated with arithmetic. She looked right past the lines on his face and the silver in his hair, seeing the deeply kind and passionate spirit that lay beneath the surface. In 2018, they cemented their bond, getting married on the very same farm where their connection first began to grow. The world outside their sanctuary, however, proved to be far less understanding. On countless occasions, complete strangers would incorrectly assume that Tom was Stacey's grandfather, and some were not the least bit shy about sharing their harsh judgments. One particularly memorable time in a restaurant, a woman commented to Tom about what a beautiful granddaughter he had, only to be left completely speechless when Stacey proudly announced that he was, in fact, her husband. Putting the public criticism aside, Stacey's own family eventually came to fully embrace Tom once they witnessed the genuine happiness he brought into her life. And profound happiness is precisely the word that best defines this remarkable couple. Whether they are working side by side with the reptiles or just sharing a peaceful evening at home, Tom and Stacey are living proof that age is nothing more than a number. And their story shows that sometimes the only number that truly holds any meaning is 2. Their love might cause some people to raise their eyebrows, but for the two of them, it raises something infinitely more important: the courage to live their truth unapologetically. Because when it's all said and done, the only 2 opinions that matter in a marriage belong to the people who are actually in it. Now let's turn to Akihiko Kondo and Hatsune Miku. The definition of modern love seems to have no limits, but Akihiko Kondo, a man from Tokyo, took that concept into an entirely new dimension in the most literal sense. In the year 2018, the 37-year-old office administrator formally married Hatsune Miku, a computer-generated hologram of a virtual pop sensation with vibrant turquoise hair. The wedding ceremony came with a price tag of nearly $18,000 and was witnessed by 39 supportive guests. His own parents, however, pointedly refused to attend the event. To the vast majority of people, Akihiko's choice was nothing short of bizarre, perhaps even comical. But from his perspective, it was a lifeline. After suffering through years of being bullied by his co-workers and consistently rejected by real-world women, he discovered a deep sense of comfort in Miku's voice and digital presence. She was never just a projection to him. She represented acceptance, offered him companionship, and became his safe harbour from a world that had treated him with unrelenting cruelty through a highly specialised device. Miku is programmed to recognise Kondo's voice and face, greeting him warmly when he arrives home, engaging in simple conversation, and even singing for him. Every night he performs a small ritual, slipping a wedding ring onto a small doll version of her, an act that helps ground his fantasy in his daily reality. His critics call it a profound delusion, labelling him an otaku hopelessly lost in a fantasy. Nevertheless, Kondo firmly insists that he is happier now than he has ever been. He is also not unique in his devotion. Across Japan, thousands of other individuals have acquired symbolic marriage certificates to pledge their love to various virtual characters. So is this truly love, or is it just a case of extreme loneliness being masked by cutting-edge technology? The passionate debate on the subject continues, but for Akihiko Kondo, the answer couldn't be more clear. Hatsune Miku offered him the love that the real world had consistently denied him. In an era where romance is expressed in countless different ways, his story challenges us all to consider a fundamental question. If a relationship makes someone feel whole and happy, does it really matter who or what is on the receiving end of that love next? We have Nick Vujicic and Kanai. Nick Vujicic has dedicated his entire life to completely redefining what it truly means to live a life without any limits. Born without any arms or legs, the Australian-American motivational speaker transformed his immense struggles into a global source of strength, journeying around the world to inspire millions. For many years, however, he quietly admitted to one persistent fear that he just couldn't seem to overcome. He wondered, would anyone ever be able to love me for who I am? That profound question was answered in 2008, the day Nick met Kanai Miyahara at a very small speaking event held in Texas. In a room with only 16 people present, his eyes locked with hers, and as he would later describe the moment, a burst of fireworks erupted inside his heart. While Kanai was hesitant at first, Nick's incredible sense of humour, his boundless courage, and his sheer authenticity completely won her over. They started a relationship, and in 2012 they were married in a ceremony that Nick himself considered a true miracle. Today they are the loving parents to 4 children, and their home is perpetually filled with laughter, delightful chaos, and a bond that is absolutely unshakable. Of course, there have been whispers from the critics. Some have gone so far as to question Kanai's motivations for marrying him. Others have openly doubted how a man with Nick's severe physical disabilities could possibly manage to raise a family. But Kanai's fierce and unwavering devotion has silenced every single one of them. She has remained steadfastly by his side through punishing global travel schedules, exhausting sleepless nights with their newborn children, and the constant intense glare of public life. Nick playfully refers to himself as a Prince Charming who is just missing a few pieces. Kanai, however, simply calls him her everything. Their shared life is undeniable proof that real love is not about some arbitrary standard of physical perfection, but rather about possessing the courage to recognise profound beauty where the rest of the world might only see something that is broken. Their incredible story forces us to ask, if Nick can find true love without arms or legs, what possible excuse can any of the rest of us have? And finally, there is the story of Joe Darger and his wives. For the vast majority of people, marriage is a union between 2 partners, but for Joe Darger, a fundamentalist Mormon based in Utah, the real magic number is 3. His highly unconventional family structure consists of Vicky and Valerie, who are identical twin sisters, along with their cousin Alina. The result of their union is a massive family with 24 children, fueling one of the most controversial and highly debated marriages in the entire country. It all started when Joe married his first wife, Alina, all while carrying on a clandestine relationship with another woman, Vicky. Before long, Vicky officially became part of the family. In a surprising turn years later, after Valerie fled from a deeply abusive situation, it was Vicky who urged Joe to welcome her own twin sister into their marriage as a third wife. For most people, this arrangement is completely unthinkable, but for them, it's a profound expression of their faith, a cornerstone of their culture, and ultimately a personal choice. They choose to live their lives out in the open, defying the fact that polygamy is illegal across the United States. Their story quickly became fodder for books and television documentaries, igniting a firestorm of national controversy. Detractors are quick to label it a form of exploitation. On the other hand, supporters defend it as a fundamental matter of religious freedom. Joe himself is adamant that their family operates on a foundation of mutual respect, not patriarchal control. Inside their home, each wife maintains her own private bedroom. Joe carefully rotates which wife he spends the night with, a constant effort to maintain harmony in a household where love may be abundant, but is certainly never simple. From the women's perspective, the decision is layered and deeply personal. Vicky explains that she had always envisioned sharing a husband, drawing a parallel to the biblical story of Rachel and Leah. Valerie, for her part, feels that her twin sister literally saved her from a terrible fate by bringing her into the safety and structure of their unique family. Alina candidly describes their home life as wonderfully chaotic, yet deeply purposeful. Regardless of whether you admire or condemn them, the Darja family compels society to face some very uncomfortable questions head-on. Is it possible for love to be shared equally among three distinct women? And can a single man genuinely devote himself completely and authentically to more than one partner? One thing is absolutely clear. Their unconventional story stands as a testament to the idea that for some, love is not something that gets divided. It's something that gets multiplied. Let's turn our attention to Susan Yogu and Philip Ealing. When Philip Ealing was born in Australia, his parents were given a devastating diagnosis from his doctors. He was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, a condition that meant his muscles would progressively deteriorate with each passing year. By the time he was just 5 years old, he was confined to a wheelchair. However, what the medical experts couldn't possibly quantify was the strength of his spirit. In his 30s, Philip authored a book titled Life is What You Make It, in which he expressed his deepest desire to find a person who would love him unconditionally. That heartfelt dream became a reality in 2017 when a twist of fate led Susan Yogu to walk directly into his office. Susan, who was born and grew up in Kenya, had relocated to Adelaide, Australia to earn her diploma in the field of disability care. The day she stepped into Philip's workplace for what seemed like a routine encounter, neither of them had any idea it would be the start of a romance that would forever alter the course of their lives. The bond between them was immediate and undeniable. Simple coffee dates quickly evolved into deep, hours-long conversations, and in less than 6 months, Philip asked her to marry him. In January of 2018, they exchanged vows in a beautiful sun-drenched garden in Adelaide, encircled by their friends and family, but also by audible whispers of scepticism. Naysayers immediately labelled Susan a gold digger, levelling harsh accusations that she was only marrying him out of pity or for financial security. But Susan simply brushed off the negativity. I anticipated that people would say things like that, she confessed, but I am secure in my own truth, and her truth is this. In Philip, she discovered not a person to be cared for, but a true life partner. He was a man whose inner strength, despite his physical challenges, surpassed that of anyone she had ever known before. United, they are completely redefining the conventional image of love. Where some people might perceive weakness, they see incredible resilience. And where others might see an impossible situation, they see a future filled with promise. Now for the story of Godfrey Baguma, better known as Sababi, and the women he married. In his home country of Uganda, he is widely recognised by a harsh and unforgiving nickname, Sababi, which translates to the ugliest of them all. Yet for Godfrey Baguma, his entire life has been a journey of transforming that cruel insult into a source of personal power, boundless laughter, and most importantly, profound love. He was born with an extremely rare condition known as fibrodysplasia, which caused severe distortions to his face and body. Consequently, Godfrey's childhood was marked by deep poverty and constant ridicule. Back in 2002, driven by a desperate need to provide for his family, he made a bold move and entered a competition to find the ugliest man in Uganda, and he won. Instead of shrinking from the spotlight, he fully embraced the title. That single audacious decision completely changed his life, catapulting him into the status of a national celebrity, a beloved comedian, and a popular singer. But Godfrey's most significant achievement has nothing to do with fame. His greatest triumph is his family. In the face of relentless mockery from the world, he has been married 3 times and is the incredibly proud father of 7 children. His wives are unwavering in their description of him as charming, hilarious, and completely devoted qualities they feel are infinitely more important than physical appearance. He makes me laugh harder than anyone I've ever met, one of his wives once commented, dismissing the cruel rumours that her motivations must be financial. Naturally, there are still critics who question the authenticity of his marriages, with some labelling his wives as opportunistic. However, Godfrey counters their scepticism not with angry arguments, but with an undeniable sense of joy. His household resonates with music, constant laughter, and the energy of children who look at their father and see only a source of love, not his physical condition. In 2016, his health faced a serious challenge when medical scans showed his condition was exerting dangerous pressure on his brain. But even in the face of this, he absolutely refused to indulge in self-pity. He continued to perform to love his family and to live his life with vibrancy and passion. The life of Godfrey Baguma is definitive proof that beauty isn't merely in the eye of the beholder. Instead, true beauty resides within the heart of the person who is loved. Anastasia Rescos and Quentin DeHart. When Anastasia Rescos first crossed paths with Quentin DeHart in the glamorous setting of Saint-Tropez way back in 2013, it was far more than just a fleeting summer romance. It marked the start of a love affair that seemed to be drawn more from a toy company's marketing campaign than from the pages of real life. The couple embarked on a mutual all-consuming mission to surgically and cosmetically transform themselves into living versions of Barbie and Ken. Quentin, a successful French entrepreneur, had already begun the process of modifying his appearance, meticulously reshaping his facial features to mirror those of the iconic male doll. Anastasia, a striking Russian beauty, discovered she shared his peculiar obsession. From that point on, their lives spiraled into a dizzying whirlwind of repeated cosmetic procedures, extravagant luxury cars, and obsessively curated social media images, all intended to erase the boundary between plastic fantasy and human flesh. By the time their story exploded onto the global media scene, the couple had already invested more than $300,000 in pursuit of their synthetic, doll-like dream. Their friends openly called it a form of madness. Medical professionals repeatedly warned them of the significant health risks involved, but Anastasia and Quentin simply refused to listen. Anastasia herself once declared their shared ambition: "We want to spend the rest of our lives together, literally morphing into the dolls we adore." The transformation was so complete that even Quentin's own parents started affectionately calling them Barbie and Ken. Their life was a meticulously staged performance. They cruised in gleaming Porsches, held impossibly still poses like store mannequins, and conducted their entire existence as if it were one long, glamorous photo shoot. But beneath that glossy, perfect veneer, unsettling questions began to bubble to the surface. Was their connection built on genuine love, or was it merely a shared, all-consuming obsession? Were they life partners, or simply each other's ultimate improvement projects? Regardless of the truth, Anastasia and Quentin undeniably compelled the world to view relationships through a completely different and perhaps slightly distorted lens. For them, love wasn't about accepting one another's flaws and imperfections. It was a joint mission to reinvent themselves entirely, a partnership forged for better or for plastic. Sonela Masilela and Helen Shabangu. Back in 2013, a quiet village in South Africa became the epicenter of a global media firestorm after hosting a wedding ceremony that defied all conventions. The groom, Sanele Masilela, was only 9 years old. Standing beside him was his bride, Helen Shabangu, a 62-year-old mother of 5. Incredibly, this was a ceremony to renew their vows from a marriage that had taken place the previous year. The staggering 53-year age difference was enough to leave people speechless and ignite a firestorm of public outrage. But this union was far from a romance in any conventional understanding of the word. The explanation offered by Sanele's family was rooted in the spiritual realm. They said the young boy claimed that his departed ancestors had commanded him to take a bride. Remarkably, Helen, who was already married and had adult children, willingly consented to the ritual, stating that she was honoured to fulfil this spiritual request. Even more surprisingly, her own husband and children were present at the ceremony and showed their full support, viewing the event not as a scandal, but as a deeply important cultural obligation. Despite the family's explanation, the images of a small child in a tuxedo kissing his elderly bride went viral, spreading like wildfire across the internet. The global reaction was swift, with many labelling the scene as deeply disturbing and some even calling it sickening. Critics worldwide immediately accused the family of child exploitation. On the other side, supporters passionately defended the union as a sacred tradition that was simply being misunderstood by a Western audience. For Sanele himself, the situation was far less complicated. He made it clear he still intended to go to school, play with his friends, and one day marry a girl his own age. For Helen, the arrangement was never about love or companionship. It was strictly about honouring a spiritual duty. It's crucial to note the marriage was purely symbolic and held no legal standing. Nevertheless, the intense controversy surrounding it continues to this day. So, was it a harmless cultural practice or a dangerous precedent for the future? One thing is absolutely certain: the union of Sanele and Helen serves as a powerful reminder of how culture and belief can intersect in ways that utterly shock the modern world, forcing us all to confront the difficult question of where tradition ends and child protection must begin. Next, we have Joelison Fernandes da Silva and Evan Medeiros at an incredible 7 feet 8 inches. Joelison Fernandes da Silva is the 3rd tallest man on the planet, known throughout Brazil as the Gentle Giant. His immense stature naturally attracts constant attention. But beyond his towering frame is a profound story of suffering, incredible resilience, and an improbable love story that ultimately silenced all the heartless whispers. As a young boy, Joelison was diagnosed with gigantism, a condition triggered by a non-cancerous tumour on his pituitary gland. By the time he was a teenager, he was already towering over his own father, and doctors issued serious warnings about potential health complications. Yet Joelison hesitated for years before finally undergoing surgery in 2007. Even after the procedure, he still grew another 4 inches, eventually settling at his current staggering height. However, the greatest struggle he faced wasn't a medical one, it was deeply emotional. He endured relentless bullying and ridicule, which caused him to retreat into a life of isolation, completely convinced that he would never find love. And then Evan Medeiros entered his life, a woman who stood more than 3 feet shorter than him. Their initial connection happened online through Facebook, and what started out as simple casual messages soon blossomed into something Joelison had only ever dreamed of. This was a genuine relationship, one founded on mutual affection, not just morbid curiosity about his size. Despite the dramatic physical contrast between them, the two fell hopelessly in love, and in 2015 they were married in a small Brazilian town. Their wedding captured the world's attention, making headlines everywhere. For Joelison, this was so much more than just a marriage. It was validation that he was not defined by his condition. Today, the couple lives a peaceful life, walking hand in hand, completely unfazed by the stares or intrusive comments. While the rest of the world might see their relationship as extraordinary, for Joelison and Evan, it's the most natural thing in the world. Their story proves that love sees the heart, not the height. Our next story is about Amali Jennings and a man named Sean. For Emily, growing up in Denmark was an experience often marked by cruelty. She was relentlessly bullied because of her weight, and she grew into a young woman convinced that no one could ever love her for who she was on the inside. Her self-esteem was completely shattered, And during her darkest period, she tragically resorted to self-harm. In a society that is so obsessed with physical appearance, Amelie felt completely and utterly invisible. But as it so often does, love appeared in the most unexpected of places. For Amelie, it arrived through the digital world of a PlayStation game. It was there that she connected with Sean, a young man from England. They started chatting online, quickly forming a deep bond over countless late-night conversations filled with easy laughter. From the very beginning, Sean wasn't concerned with Amelie's physical appearance. He was captivated by her spirit. He perfectly summed up his feelings when he once said, "I'm not attracted to sizes. I'm attracted to the people I fall in love with." After a full year of building their relationship from a distance, they finally met in person and their connection grew even stronger. Their love story became a powerful testament against every negative stereotype and every hateful comment. And Sean, who had never been in a relationship with a plus-sized woman before, found himself falling completely and unreservedly in love with Amelie. In him, she discovered the strength to finally believe she was deserving of a genuine and unconditional love. After a journey of 9 years, they committed their lives to one another. However, their happiness was not without a significant price. In a heartbreaking turn, Sean's father severed all ties, completely unable to accept their union. But even with that immense pressure, Sean refused to back down. He defiantly chose Amelie, demonstrating that true love isn't about meeting societal standards, but about finding the one person who completes you. To this day, the marriage of Amelie and Sean serves as a powerful and defiant stand against ingrained prejudice. Their incredible story is a powerful testament to the fact that physical size has absolutely no bearing on beauty or a person's intrinsic worth. At the end of the day, love simply cannot be measured in pounds or inches on a tape. It is measured in the sheer depth of one's courage.